You're listening to a Time Machine podcast. Old Movie Time Machine. An adventure through time and or space.
Dishes are done, man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Old Movie Time Machine. Oops, all 90s. I'm your host, Jay-Z, joined as ever by my international panel of experts at being humans in the early 21st century. Starting on my right, Shrishma Naik. Hey, welcome back to the program, Shrish.
Hello.
And to your right, and also across the ocean, my sister and yours, Carolyn Naoroz. Hey, sis.
Hey there.
Hey, welcome back to the program. Do you guys know where the oops concept comes from? The oops notion?
Britney?
It's that's very close. It's actually from Cap'n Crunch.
Oh, okay.
In the 1990s, there was a series of gross oversights at the Cap'n Crunch factory compound. And at one point it was oops, all berries, because, you know, Cap'n Crunch has crunch berries, right?
Okay.
What if you get that nasty Cap'n Crunch out of there? Just put the berries. Oops.
Oh my God, I fucking
All
love
berries.
Captain Crunch.
Oh, Cap'n Crunch is
Like,
amazing.
it's gonna
for me.
cut up your mouth. You're gonna be on a sugar high. Your tongue's gonna be purple.
Yep.
But that is like a treat.
Aggressive
I don't let
uppers for
myself
children.
have. Right.
Yeah.
I will tell you, by the way, we are recording on St. Patrick's Day today. And I did wake up and have a bowl of Lucky Charms.
Well, according to the whatever ancestry.org or whatever, we are partially Irish, I guess. So
Yeah, I mean, hello.
You're getting in touch with your roots.
We are like
I'm wearing green.
English.
Oh, you are.
Welsh.
So you are. I am.
You're good. You're good. You can't pinch her.
But back to the Cap'n Crunch factory, the gross oversight culminated with, and I assume led to multiple firings, but oops, chocolate donuts?
Okay.
Just a box of chocolate donut shaped cereal. So oops, these things happening again. So that's what happened with our format. Oops, we were in the Cold War. Oops, I guess we're in the 90s now. Right. Or are we?
We're close.
The show's been on the air for what? I mean, like a month at this point. Shrishma
rules are made to be broken.
She wants to break the rules. We have one rule, and she's like, "I don't care. I'm breaking it."
I just feel like if y'all know me, I'm a serial rule breaker.
That's true.
Rules are
so
meant to be.
Crunch.
Rules are meant to be broken.
All chocolate donuts.
Oops. 1989.
Oops, it's the 80s. Sorry about that. But look, I'm delighted that you've chosen this film. It's a personal favorite. And also, I mean, this was made during a time when things moved a little bit slower.
Right.
Things progressed a little bit slower. So the life that we see here in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is no different from 1993 in the United States of America. I mean, it's all the same type of suburban life. But here to tell us more about it and to overthrow my patriarchy is the matriarch, Shrishma Naik, taking control of the program. Take it away, Shrish.
Thank you, Justin. So as Justin alluded to, the movie we watched this week was 1989's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And as I kind of explained last week, I personally watched this movie in the 90s. So in my mind, we're in the 90s.
I got you.
So, we're going to go into Shrishma's mind.
Little Shrishy Boo. Little Shrishy Boo.
Is it though?
Yeah, it's
pretty chill though, a little smoky.
Yeah, no, it's chill.
Really cool.
You do have the incense is burning. See, you put out the nice bean bags,
right?
Nice brain bean bags.
Exactly.
Brain bags. Yeah.
Speaking of brain bean bags, Inside Out 2 is coming out. Is anyone excited for that?
I now that you bring it,
you haven't watched Inside Out.
I saw it in the theater.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. And it was lovely.
It was great.
Yeah, it was great.
I loved it.
You loved it. Is it your favorite?
It's not my favorite, but conceptually, I think it was so smart. I don't know. I just loved the concept of what they were doing. And as a kid, to watch that as a kid, to try and understand emotions, what a great tool to have is what I felt.
Oh man, I want to take you back to 1992 to Epcot Center.
I know exactly what you're thinking about.
This ride that's called Cranium Command.
Okay.
Which is the exact same story of Inside Out. And it was actually directed by the exact same person.
Oh.
But it was a ride. It was like very...
Yeah, you were inside this kid's head.
Okay.
And there was a robot kid who was in a seat in the head, like controlling everything and then like checking in with different emotions and feelings and body parts and things like that. It's the whole thing. Very entertaining. But that's where that original idea comes from.
Okay.
And he takes it, makes it into this movie, like totally separate IP, of course.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited. Part two. Let's do it.
Okay.
Do we have what's his name? Ding Dong is in there, or what's his name? The imaginary friend.
Oh,
dumb shit.
I don't
Dim
know.
Dong.
Maybe. I haven't watched it in a while. I just know I like the movie.
Okay.
Don't ask me to quote the names of the
Bing Bong.
Bing Bong.
Is it Bing Bong?
We'll go with Bing Bong.
All right. I wonder if he's going to come back. He's got it.
So back to the movie at hand.
Stop distracting us.
My bad. That was my fault. I took that deviation. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I think we agreed that we're not doing the, plot by plot story. So I'll do a quick summary of what this movie is about.
There you go.
Basically, it's a story of two families, if you will, not much unlike Romeo and Juliet last week.
Wow.
Two families that,
in the distance, but I can see that they're related.
There's two families that maybe don't get along and they happen to be neighbors. And then there's four children, they each have two kids. And these kids get shrunk because dad's inventing a shrinking machine in the attic upstairs.
As one does.
As dads tend to do.
Yeah.
And they inadvertently get shrunk down, get swept up into a garbage bag, and get, thrown into the big, dangerous backyard. And when you're little, the backyard can be pretty dangerous.
Which they are real little. I mean, this is right. I mean, we could talk. I'm sure we will about scale and like all the cool, special effects and everything. But like that's quarter of an inch is tiny,
right?
Tiny.
So basically, it's their journey from the back of the yard back to the house. So the parents can find them and they can get blown back up to real size again. And through this journey, they learn about life, friendship, love.
French class.
Oh, and, all the things that such kind of journeys tend to teach you.
Right.
But in this case, the two families become friends at the end. They don't kill their children, or the children don't end up killing themselves. So there's a plus.
That's a really nice summary. Well
Isn't
done.
it?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Thanks.
I think that's everything.
Right.
Well, this has been Old Movie Time Machine.
Till next time.
Till next time.
So I thought we could go into like different, buckets of, things to take away from this movie. And then we can talk through the cultural lens of what we see. But I think the biggest one for me is the technology that you see. The first kind of aspect, the technology in which they used to make the movie in itself. Because obviously today we have CGI, green screen, and that stuff they did it on the computer, of course. But back in 1989, I don't think they had this kind of technology. So honestly, I was curious, Justin, if you knew how they did it.
Shrishma, I have so much information for you.
I knew you would not let me down.
I was being so quiet.
It's okay. I appreciate it. So,
I want to jump in every other word you say. Okay.
So that's one basket of technology. And then the second one we'll do is the kind of inventions we see in the Zelinsky house.
Mad scientist technology.
And how they kind of, gave us a glimpse of what technology could do for us. And then
I was kind of so delighted to see some of those inventions.
Yes,
so looking forward to talking about both the technical filmmaking aspects and let's hit it.
Let's do it. So Justin, technical filmmaking, go.
Yep. Let's talk about it because this is sort of the apex of traditional optical special effects. by which I'm talking about things that were developed in the mid to late 1970s to make your Star Wars and your Star Treks and things like this, things that were refined in the late 70s, early 80s, namely blue screen technology. We would recognize that as green screen today, but the idea of filming one element over a colored, a monochrome background, and then being able to optically print that on top of another background, or being able to layer different effects like that. The apex of which, of course, is there's one shot in Return of the Jedi where you've got the Forest Moon of Endor and you've got the Death Star, and then you have it feels like 800 ships flying at the screen. Like those are all done individually, cut out and, layered into each other. Back in the earlier days, 50s, 40s or whatever, if they wanted to do something like this, they would have to manually cut things, I think, before they developed the optical printing technology. So this is really, because this is 88, 89, we are on the precipice of everything changing. Everything changes in special effects with Jurassic Park in 93.
Right.
There's a progression of films that lead up to that moment, starting with Young Sherlock Holmes in the mid 80s, James Cameron with The Abyss and his pseudopod technology, which he then plugs into Terminator 2 in 1991, where we have the T-1000 slimy mercury liquid metal body, right? And that is what leads everybody to believe, like, we could maybe use this and build a dinosaur. And they do it, and then that changes everything. And that's where we're at now. There's no blocker on your imagination. You can make anything that you want to see. But before then, you had to plan it out and everything.
Yeah, I could imagine, because just obviously when I was watching this as a kid, I didn't really think about how they made the movie. But this time, and I haven't watched this movie in a really long time, but watching it, I was like, damn, how did they do that? It's
pretty amazing to see. I was really impressed watching it this time. It's very seamless. The way that they're also doing it the smart way, which is the Jurassic Park way, which is we're pulling from different bags of tricks and putting them all together. So you're seeing not only the actors on a soundstage that has all these enlarged props around them, but you're also seeing they would cut to, Auntie the Ant. They would cut to Auntie. Stop motion. Poor Auntie. Rest in power, Auntie. But they would do stop motion effects for that for some scenes. And then in other scenes, they would build a life-size robot and then they can interact with it that way.
Right.
So there are all these different, and when you combine them quickly enough, it's hard for your brain to track. Like, it just doesn't stand out as much because you're processing so many different types of, so that's pretty novel. The people who made this movie, the guy who directed it is Joe Johnston, who you actually like quite a bit because he directed the first Captain America movie.
Oh, great.
So, and I like him quite a bit because he directed The Rocketeer right after this movie.
As I understood from some basic research,
I love it.
The original director was a guy named
the Reanimator
Stuart
guy.
Gordon.
Yes.
And he got sick. He was also a horror film director.
Yes.
So everyone was really worried that it might not be a family-friendly film, but I think he did pretty well to come out with. But then at the end of it, Joe Johnston took over. And
Joe Johnston, this is his first movie he directs, I believe. But he had worked on he worked on Raiders, he worked on the previous 3 Star Wars. So I think that's why
he had that. Yeah.
He knew the effects technology and why it worked so well. Now, do you have something?
No, I was just going to say that he went on to direct Jumanji, Jurassic Park 3, and Captain America.
That's right.
Adventure.
That's right.
So
we like Joe. Now, Carolyn and I have a special attachment to the special effects for this film in particular.
Did you try to recreate it?
I mean, sure, as you would recreate any movie, but there's a deeper thing. So let's talk about Disney during this time period.
Go ahead.
Okay, so earlier in the decade of the 80s, this guy Michael Eisner shows up from Paramount, and he had developed all the Indiana Jones stuff with Spielberg and Lucas, and he's a businessman, but he's a creatively inclined businessman. So he takes over with his money business partner Frank Wells, they take over the studio basically.
Right.
And they're in charge of Disney now, which has been kind of languishing and doing some like the cartoons are shitty and the live action is shitty. Nobody's happy. So they're like, we'll start with live action. Let's, because we come from Paramount, we come from this world. So they start making these very low budget films that have like a pretty big turnaround. Like they make money basically.
Yeah. So they're trying to generate some money at this particular point.
Family friendly. They can all be made pretty much in Disney studios. It's real like low overhead basically. Right. So, and this is a good business model for them. So this is sort of like the, maybe not quite the apex. It's among the apex because we start seeing their marketing change as well, and toys and the magazines that go with everything. So like this movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, we had the junior novelization of it. So like I read Honey, I Shrunk the Kids many, many times, so like they're getting all of this like merch out there in novel ways in the story. So you are living in this world. They're creating a world for you, the kid, to live in basically. Right. And they do this with Dick Tracy. They do this with The Rocketeer. They do this with Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. They do this. There's a whole game plan at work here. And this is probably one of the most successful, I think, because it works for all audiences. Yeah. It's funny if you're an adult. It's funny if you're a kid. It's like, it's so intriguing if you're a kid, the entire idea
of shrinking down.
Right. And then, so this gets rolled into the other part of Disney, which is the theme parks, right? So Disney opens up a new theme park. Eisner's like, hey, I remember when I was talking to Universal Studios, they were going to build like a movie themed theme park. We could do that. We're Disney. We make movies. So he real quick turns that around and they beat Universal Studios to the market. And open with very little by way of like entertainment, actually. It's like a half-day park, they would call it, where there's enough there for you to spend, like 4 or 5 hours maybe. But one of the things that they would do is take you on a special effects walking tour. So you start with like the backstage tour where you get on a little tram and they take you around this fake backlot. And you would go by the Golden Girls house. They'd be like, that's the house from the Golden Girls. And everybody would go, ooh, oh my God, I've heard of the Golden Girls. Right. The funny part being that's not the Golden Girls house, of course.
They just lied?
Yeah, they just recreated it. They rebuilt the front.
All right. But it wasn't the actual place where they shot the show. Okay.
They did shoot Ernest Saves Christmas there. Okay. So they did, the whole thing was like, we want to make this a real movie studio, but also a theme park.
Right.
Those two worlds are never you can't stop shooting for trams loaded with tourists buzzing through every 5 minutes. There's no way. But part of the thing they would do is they would litter actual props. So we've seen props from this movie and the sequel. In the sequel, Wayne Szalinski drives a crazy mad scientist van or whatever. We've seen that van. We've seen like the gates of the laboratory and everything. Like that was part of the experience. And also we would do a backstage special effects tour where they tell you how special effects work. They had Auntie the Ant there, like the robot version. And they would do a whole thing where like the host is like, and then here's our buddy Auntie. And Auntie comes to life and like moves his head around. And then they take you into the blue screen room. Carolyn, would you like to describe the blue screen room? What's in there?
Oh my God. Well, I was really young when we were there. I mean,
it's 7? The B. It's the B.
It's the B. It's the B. So you go in, and if I remember correctly, there were like it was like stadium seating for everyone on your tour.
Like a catwalk that lined the room that everybody would line up on. Yeah.
Right. And then Justin and I were so adorable at this age that we were picked. We were plucked from obscurity on our tour, and we got to do the special effects on the B.
We rode the B.
So there is a video somewhere in a box.
There is. I tried to find. I don't think I have
that. Needs to be brought out for content.
I think you might be right. I know it's around somewhere in the world. Okay. I might have it in this apartment. I'm not quite sure. But they would put you up on this giant B.
Right.
Carolyn's on the side, I'm up top, and then they would blow a big fan in your face, and you're in front of the blue screen.
He had to act like he was saving me, and
yeah, absolutely right. And they're like shouting things at you, like, "Yeah, reach down, like try to save her. She's about to fly off." And then so you're trying to do all this stuff, and then they superimpose. I mean, this was like magic back then. Right. Everybody can do this on their phone now, but.
an animatronic, like it's moving around while they've got like the screen with the
clothes
film in the background.
The crazy, the house in the distance, and then they layer it together, and then they show it on the screen, and then afterwards they have Siskel and Ebert. Do you know Roger Ebert?
Yes.
The movie reviewer?
Yeah.
They had them
do a review.
Review our performance.
Yeah.
What was his review?
I think it was the same. It was something like, those kids were pretty believable. Yeah, I agree, Raj. I liked it. I liked where they were going. The effects looked good.
That's crazy. But I must say, I feel like I've been on, like when we were kids, we visited the US once.
Okay.
And I think I did a similar tour with my family at Universal Studios.
Yeah, they had one too, for sure.
Yeah, I think they came, because it was like later in like 1999, I think.
Yes.
So interesting, because now it's bringing back all those memories in my head.
Oh,
as you guys are describing.
And all that stuff's on YouTube. You can find it.
Yeah.
And then real quick, and then we're done with this part. They also had like a playland for like in between different parts of the tour where it was the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids play park.
Right.
And everything was massive like in the movie. So you could climb up a giant cookie or a giant roll of Kodak film, brought to you by Kodak. So that was cool. I think we were a little too old for that to be too much fun, but if you were younger, I'm sure that was cool. And then there was another ride where it's like a sequel to the movie, like a side sequel where Wayne's at work. It's like the whole cast is there and everything.
Oh, wow.
And it was like 3D glasses, and then like the seats moved and had like little mice effects and things like that. So this was a big property for them.
Right.
So this loomed large. Watched it this morning. Delighted it still holds up.
It does.
And then real quick, just because we're about to move to mad scientist technology.
Right.
I mean, I love everything that I see here. This was anybody who knows me fairly well will know that my personage it comes with a bunch of cables.
Yeah, it does.
A bunch of wires and cables.
A whole box full.
Yeah, I mean, they're just everywhere. It's just when I'm coming over, I'm bringing the cables, you guys, and I'm plugging them all in. And that is what I wanted as a kid, because I wanted to be Wayne Zelinsky. I wanted to be mad scientist and build shit like him with that, the soldering iron or the blowtorch or whatever. I love that shit.
Yes.
It's welding. Anyway.
Do you have your own, have you built something?
I built that guitar.
Oh, wow.
I got to wire. I got to buy a soldering iron and all that.
That's pretty impressive. I must say.
I like it.
Okay.
We plug this shit in every week.
That's true. This is true. So, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids animated opening credits were groundbreaking.
But why?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
I know why.
Go ahead, tell us why.
Well, it's one of the first combinations of 2D and 3D animation.
Exactly. That's what it says here too.
Now, look, we talked about this. We talked about this with Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, right? Animated opening credit sequences. This company who did this one also did Troop Beverly Hills, animated opening. And what's the other one?
National Lampoon's
Christmas Vacation. Of course, the Santa Claus.
Yes. The team that created the sequence would go on to work on Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, and WALL-E. So clearly they went to...
okay. They went full CG.
Yes, exactly. But I thought, because I always remember liking that intro. I thought it was so fun, like even when I watched it, I didn't kind of fast forward through. I sat through and watched all of it. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting, to view it now, with the lens of us being in the future. Boy, how far technology has come in terms of allowing us to make or the animation or the special effects in films. I think
the amount of work that went into making something,
refining the art of movie making.
So I was thinking about the budget, right?
Right.
So this movie cost $18 million.
Okay.
In 88, 89. We'll recall that 94's Reality Bites cost $11 million.
That was an overblown budget
for Honey, I sat in my living room filming. So
this is bought at Target.
Right. This is double the money of a Reality Bites, but you see it on the screen. This is impressive effects wise. This neighborhood, I guess they built in Mexico City.
Yes,
I saw that because I was wondering where this is supposed to take place. It's California, of course. Right. Makes sense for the sequel where they end up in Vegas and all that. But Yeah. Oh, the other thing I loved about this picture, it's incredible.
Yeah.
This movie is 90 minutes long.
It is. It's not, and it's funny too. There are some back and forth. The back and forth between the kids is hilarious to me, especially.
See, I was loving the parents. I was loving the Thompsons.
Yeah, they were also hilarious. I mean, each kind of group of people had their own dynamic that was so entertaining throughout the whole thing. And I think I watched
it. It was a tight film.
Yeah, it was tight.
So airtight, but also with plenty of room for little cues, little bits of business that suggest a lived-in world. You know, like when Rick Moranis is talking to the dog at one point, he said something about, you know, like he answers the phone and he's like, "It's not for you." Like that little bit, like that's like a semi joke,
right?
But it's also very lived in. Like this man and his dog have talked to each other all the time.
Right.
He's talking to that dog all day long. He's a crazy mad scientist.
He is a crazy mad scientist who invented some very interesting gadgets for his home, which I think he thought would make things simpler. But
it's the old Doc Brown.
You know, it's in some case. So I think we can start with the coffee machine. Was it a coffee machine?
There's a coffee. Oh, okay. So the things that stand out to me are there's a coffee machine. There's a phone that has like a finger that that like rolls around. There's the Felix the cat clock.
Yeah.
There's the text
machine.
Yes,
the text machine.
Typing with his gloves on again.
And then there's the dog's little food dispenser.
Yeah. Yep. That's an Einstein Brown Back to the Future-ish.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think each of those kind of show like how at that time what were the conveniences in life we wanted technology to solve for potentially.
Sure.
But you know, the text has, you know, evolved into our phones today. And so I think, you know, it was all very cute and I enjoyed the little innovations that he had.
But you know what some conveniences I would like taken care of for me at this point in my life? Yes, the laundry. Can we like...
Our show is anti-laundry, by the way, like staunchly anti-doing laundry. Mine's out right now.
I do it all the fucking time. I feel like I have an endless supply of laundry that just like I have a laundry flow issue and I cannot for the life of me.
I'm just trying to be a clean human.
Stop.
Right. And it's also like I would like a self-loading dishwasher. Like if I put it in the
I would like a self-loading dishwasher.
I would just like a self-cleaning home. Just clean yourself.
That is so you're a Zelensky then. You're a futurist in that sense. Okay.
I mean,
clean yourself and
I, you know, fully admit I never thought I'd be someone that I wasn't raised this way to have cleaning ladies. I never thought I would be. I have to. I can't keep up with it.
So these inventions have a real homemade feel in the sense. Okay, so we've already referenced, you know, Back to the Future, same vibe. I would say Ghostbusters, same vibe. Like we went to Home Depot, we bought all the tubes, and we taped them together, and we're building it. That's a laboratory, basically. Like that's how science happens. And that was my understanding of what science was. I mean, I definitely wanted to live that type of lifestyle where I'm plugging in a lot of cables and I'm also blowtorching things and wearing masks and special gloves.
I've never seen you with tools, well, outside of cables. And maybe I missed that part.
I'm not handy is the, you know, like I can't, well, I mean, I could figure something out. Right. You know, I can watch a YouTube.
Can you like build stuff? Like a table? I'm just asking.
I bet you I could figure it out, but it's not. I don't have a shop, you know. Like I have friends who do like proper woodworking. Right. They're worried about, you know, the rosewood inlays and stuff like that. What's up, Tom Green? But that's not. While it's interesting to me, I don't think I've ever taken the time to properly. Okay. And, you know, when I'm older, though, I've got a real laundry list of things I'd like to get into. That you're going to start doing? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Chips and bottles. It's going to be a big one.
I can't believe you haven't started that already.
I know.
How do those... Well, okay, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole.
I know. I'll tell you.
I'm sure you do.
You know I have the answer. Can we talk about their marriage real quick, the Zelensky's marriage?
Yeah, so just one second before I go there.
course.
So great. He has great inventions. And the biggest one of all being this random shrinking machine that he's trying to invent up in the attic, which is, kind of the MacGuffin of this movie.
Kind of.
She said, wondering if she was using that term right. I mean, a bit. Yeah, sure. Okay, sure.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
That was my cinematic input for this movie. That's all I have to.
The real scientific discovery was their love for each other, right? Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I will say though, if you think about a shrinking machine or an enlarging machine, I can only imagine what the male scientists would do with the enlarging machine.
Funny because I don't think we get that joke at all in the sequel, which is that movie, which is well, we can make things bigger now.
Right.
We don't get any dick jokes.
I actually did like the sequel. Did you guys like the sequel?
I kind of do like the sequel. Yeah.
I haven't watched that one in a really long time. But if you think about being able to like shrink garbage,
right?
That would be pretty epic.
This is his whole thing about bulky payloads and space ships and stuff like that. That's what he was talking about. Like,
right. And if you think about being able to enlarge food to feed, like they had the huge turkey at the end,
payloads into bulky payloads. I just like the term bulky payloads.
I think this is, it's interesting that you guys bring this up because in 2017, there was a movie that was released called Downsizing. And the plot line of Downsizing, starring, I think, Matt Damon, potentially one of those. This
does sound familiar.
So basically, there's an inventor in Sweden who discovers the technology to shrink. And this at the time where, there's a global crisis of, resource limitation, booming population. So his solution is that we shrink everyone down really small. So then the resource utilization decreases. So they basically take this technology that he's created, merge it with capitalism, and it becomes like this industry or this service where people shrink themselves and move into these miniature communities. And it's all in order to save the world's resources.
Interesting. Okay.
So that movie, very interestingly, came out in 2017, but, same concept of...
Are there any giant cookies in it? Because that's what will really sell me. That's what sold me on this movie. Giant cookies.
For sure.
Yes,
I think, the view is, it gives us a view of how everything is, wastage and how there's massive amounts of waste because, people are using so much. So I don't know if there's a cookie per se, but there's some interesting concepts in that movie as well that you could check out for later viewing. But back to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Can we wrap up the technology?
Yeah.
I think we can wrap up the technology talk. And then we're going to go and talk about the two families that we have, our two, the Zelinskys and the Thompsons. Obviously, they're two very distinct,
personalities.
Models of family. So we can start with the Zelinskys. We have mom, dad, and Amy and Nick. Amy's, in high school, ready to go out with her, her date with her little boyfriend. She's real popular. And Nick's kind of, a miniature dad. Who's a mad scientist in the making. And I think mom is a real estate agent.
Yeah, she sells that big estate to the Borsteins. And I think when we start the movie, there's tension in the marriage. Yes.
Because, dad's all, Wayne Zelinsky's in there with his little machine that no one knows is going to work. The house is pretty chaotic, needs some decluttering, and they've just had a fight, and she spent the night at grandma's. Immediately
dumped into the center of conflict, which as a kid is a bit unsettling, because mom and dad are your rock, right? Like that's where the stability is supposed to come from, and we're starting at a point where like we don't know where mom. Well, we know where mom is, but we don't know when she's coming home. We know that they had a fight
last night.
What is up? And we're learning all this through the the kids, basically.
Exactly.
Nick and Amy. They're the ones talking about this. So we are seeing it from their point of view. But this movie does a pretty good job of splitting the point of view between the adults and the kids, I think.
Yeah, it does. But you want to talk about their marriage.
Oh, well, I just said what I had to say. I mean, Carolyn, do you have anything more to say? It's very alarming and very unsettling to start from there.
From there, right.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting in a point of conflict. There's obviously tension. It seems like it's financially related to a certain extent because, Wayne has been working on this machine for 5 years or something.
Quit his job.
And then that means she's kind of like, bringing home the bacon. So she's hustling that real estate life. And it just seems like they get to the point when the kids are missing that it's like crystallized for them. Like, okay, what's really important here? Like our kids, our family, like it doesn't really like the invention. Great. Selling the next big, property to so-and-so, like not if our kids are hurting and needing us, so it takes the kids kind of being MIA for them to realize that.
Right.
Yeah. And then contrast that with the Thompsons.
Right.
Who are...
I think they're the more traditional family where you have dad who's like the manly man and mom who I think from my assumption is stay at home and takes care of the home and the kids. And they're ready to go on their little fishing trip getaway. And there's the father and son tension and I think that was an interesting point because we touched on it at Romeo and Juliet last week where like the more feminine pretty boy concept fighting against the I'm a man and I play football. So you see some of that tension between father and son.
Yeah, definitely think the Thompsons are drawn as they're presented as this would be what we would consider the healthy American family. However, there are, even in the healthiest of American families, there are issues. Right. And that's what we learn about. And we see those. I guess I'm really impressed with, for a 90-minute movie where we spend most of it with the kids running away from large blades of grass. We get a surprising amount of intimate conversations between husband and wife.
Yes.
And we get a real sense of their dynamics and them as people and where they're coming, like in a shockingly little amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like all of this happens. I checked the time this morning for a movie that's an hour and 33 minutes. The baseball hits the machine at about like 20 minutes exactly. And in that 20 minutes, we have the whole thing laid out perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they can just let the
story
let it roll. Yeah, let the dominoes fall until the conclusion we all know is coming anyway. But it's really impressive storytelling.
Yeah, agreed.
Because we know all these people so
really
so
well
quickly.
By the time.
That's 8 characters.
Yeah. And then we have the 2 boys, Russ and Ronald.
Yeah.
And their relationship is as, 2 teenage brothers would be. Mm-hmm. They kind of hate each other, but there is love. They definitely love each other.
Same with Nick and Amy.
Exactly. There's the, obviously when you're a teenage girl, your 10-year-old younger brother is not your most
right. It's just like
not someone you want to hang out with.
You're just not even in my my field of vision at all. Like I don't even like I just live next to you, Yeah.
But you see her taking care of him really well, like cooking breakfast, making sure he eats.
Yeah.
And even when they're out in the backyard, that's when you really see how close they are to each other. Like when faced with, life or death situations, their first instinct is, oh shit, my brother, something's happening to my sibling. I really need to take care of them.
Right.
And that protective. So it's really sweet. I think it's a really well done movie. We can talk about Russ and Amy's little romance that blooms.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was really cute. In a way, because he's not the typical guy she would go for, but
little Russ, what circle do you think he runs with? Like what crowd is he I'm tempted to call him a floater because he plays football, but also he's not into football, but he's not showing any traditional tribal signs of like, nerd culture or heavy metal. Kenny from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead culture. He's just kind of like he's dressed in Reeboks and jeans.
Like typical floater, I think is a great way to put it. I think he's probably on the fringes of the popular group.
Yeah, he's popular, but he doesn't leverage that popularity in any way. Like he's not a joiner, like he's not going to be part of a club necessarily, but he's also not going to succumb to peer pressure because he's kind of cool. You can tell that he probably has friends who are girls, right?
I think he's popular in his own right, but maybe not with like the top crew in the high school.
Right, who would be more aligned with like cheerleader, captain of football team, or that kind of person. And he's just sort of like, I'm just trying to figure it out.
Right,
16, trying to figure it out.
Absolutely.
I guess that's. I would assume that's how old he is.
I think they're both, 16
in there.
Yeah, and I think they're in the same high school as well.
It seems like it. They don't know each other terribly well,
right?
But they know each other.
Crowds. Right. Amy is cool, right? Amy's like a legit.
She's cool like the chick in. Everyone wants to hang out with Amy.
Can we talk about Amy's fit real quick?
Yes.
Can you guys tell me?
Fit check.
Yeah. Can you guys tell me about just the outfits that you're seeing in this movie, like with particularly the kids?
Right.
I mean, honestly, nothing looks terribly dated because this is kind of how
it is.
The kids are dressing.
I was thinking mom jeans with Amy.
Yes.
I'm not saying
but mom jeans are back in.
Are they? Just like kind of high waisted, right? Yeah, high waisted.
High waisted is in.
White sneakers, button up shirt over with And
I actually agree with Carolyn because that's exactly how I felt. I was like, this is kind of the style today. Like everyone's kind of doing this whole high waist, layered, big top layer.
I will say, like hair wise, nothing too offensive in this movie. It's pretty good, consistent hair.
Russ almost could have he's just got that longer kind
of like prime
beachy,
Kilmer hair. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Patrick
but at the same time, that's how the boys are still doing their hair now. And he's got that like quarter zip, whatever sweatshirt on,
stripy sweatshirt. Yeah,
right. Where I'm like, this looks like how the kids dress now. I mean, even Nick with like a flannel and a thermal shirt.
Yeah, that became a uniform in 2 years' time. Like that.
The only person who looks kind of out of date is Ron because he's got that gear.
And that's only because he looks too cool. Almost.
But I think he was ready to go on this fishing trip. Yeah. So he was excited from the previous night because he camped out in the yard the night before.
Exactly.
So he was ready, really excited to go on this fishing trip with his father.
Do you recognize that actor?
No, but who is he?
Well, he plays Tom Hanks' best friend in the movie Big. I don't know if you've ever seen Big.
Oh, okay.
But he wears the the cycling cap too, with the short bill that's popped up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's in camp mode. I don't know. I think he looks kind of cool. I think Ronnie looks cool.
It is. I feel like he was the one who was the most himself. He's like, this is who I am. I like what I like. I say what I say. I think he was the most comfortable in his skin of all the children.
Because he is... How old do we think Ronnie is? Well, I only ask 13. Because this is the point. He is
15?
Oh, no, I'm going to say 12, 13 maybe.
I was going to say 12 or 13.
Like, he is on the cusp of understanding girls,
right,
that girls exist and he likes them.
Yeah.
So he's in the last stages of where Nick is still in like the middle of that world of hormones and, puberty, basically, puberty thoughts, if you want to call it that, hasn't quite started yet. And so they're just in the middle of being boys and living peak boy life. They're both living peak boy life at this point, but they don't understand what little Russ is going through. Whereas we adults, of course, understand perfectly.
Absolutely.
And Amy just wants to go to the mall. Talk to
she
Paul. Paul, what's his name? Paul
I think
Bates? Paul Hogan?
Something to that effect.
I didn't even realize his name was Paul. I was not paying attention to that.
It might not be. I may have made that up.
I think it was a Paul.
Okay.
I want to say yes. But also the moms had the Zelinsky mom She had the big shoulder pads with the big oversized jacket going on.
With the patch on. I love that patch. Did you read the thing about her hair?
Yeah, apparently she had 2 different color of hair going on or something like that.
Yeah. They just changed it 2 weeks into shooting, and she's like, but we just shot 2 weeks of film. And they're like, nobody will notice. Yeah. And to be fair, I've never noticed.
I never noticed till I started reading up generally about the
Now that's all I'm looking at.
I would have to go back and watch it to see if I could even catch that, because I didn't notice.
But there is one scene I wanted to call out, which is where the Zielinski parents are sitting out on the porch and they know their kids are lost in the backyard, and it's about to be nighttime. And she's like, yes, that's what I'm worried about. Amy out in the wild with little Russ Thompson. And I was like, that's what you're worried about, Mom? Not that they're going to be eaten up by like...
Well, I don't know. I get where she's coming from.
I get where she's coming from.
But isn't there more like bigger dangers that she should be worried about than...
Yeah, but those are immediate dangers. She's talking about the danger of these two having a baby forever.
Exactly.
That is the more pressing danger in Mom's mind anyway. I think.
I mean, I get that that's the concern, but I feel like my child being alive is a bigger concern than maybe at least she's alive if she's pregnant, rather than dead.
There's a quote for you.
Yeah, but like it's a legitimate concern when you're a parent, because you're like, you guys are so dumb and you're going to do something and not understand the consequences. And I am going to be stuck raising something that I don't want.
And then we also don't know about the biology of, when they unshrink themselves, does the baby...
Just a very
honey, I shrunk the kids.
That's a great point. If you let's say that they didn't figure it out right away. Let's say that like a year goes by, enough time for them to conceive of and then have a baby.
Right.
If you're a baby and you've been had when your parents are little, is it even a possibility to blow you up to? Well, I guess that's what the sequel's for. I guess we'll find out if
but I mean,
can blow up that kid.
That could be interesting.
This product was not tested on pregnant women.
A surprising low amount of testing in general. Like they jump from when the parents finally get together, right? And they're testing like, we got to figure this out.
Right.
And he's just blowing up fruit all goddamn day. And then they get the idea... It's not too sweaty, like the baseball thing. Like that comes together pretty naturally, quickly, right? Yeah. And they're like, well, we're going to try this. They don't try it on an apple first. It's just like
exactly my point.
I was like, you are missing a key step in this process of very loose, lax regulation, testing.
Yeah. No FDA involved here.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No clean rooms, no booties involved. If there are no booties involved, are you doing science? Do you even science, bro? No. Where are your booties?
Which is all these lessons were learned in the movie Downsizing, because they do kind of operationalize the shrinking procedure.
Okay.
Following very strict regulations and guidelines.
You're really selling this Downsizing movie.
It was an interesting movie. Okay. If y'all have ever have a chance to check it out.
But they tested on Big Russ, and he, by all rights, he should just be atomized on that little table and just spread all over that laboratory. But
the baseball, it's the baseball, Dad.
They came to a startlingly quick conclusion and ran with it, and it turned out to be right.
Worked. When has science ever worked on the first try?
Movie logic. Yeah, right. This is Edison being like, okay, I've thought of the idea of what if we had a bulb that lights up for X amount of hours. Right. I'm going to choose this for the filament. Oh, there it is.
Oh, it worked.
There it is.
Science brought to you by Hollywood.
That's right. It's just that simple, folks. Why aren't we all scientists? It's just plugging in cables.
Exactly. We need to talk about Auntie and this whole anti-friendship relationship that develops between Ron and Auntie.
Yeah, I guess.
I cried, dude, guys. When I watched it the first time as a child, I was
oh my God, yeah.
Of course.
By this relationship of this boy and his pet ant that he met 3 hours before.
Right.
And developed. developed
but it's so
hardcore feelings for.
It's so sweet, and that when he does get attacked, I don't know where that scorpion's coming from, but when Auntie tries to save them, I mean, yeah, it's a heartbreaking moment.
It is a heartbreaking moment.
Not only is it a triumph of the screenwriting that in the course, Auntie's only on screen, like you say, for like 15 minutes, maybe before the great sacrifice. Hashtag never forget. Auntie/Scorpion. I don't know.
Right.
But it's also a testament to just general storytelling that you could do this with something that is inherently gross when magnified. Auntie's not cute. I mean, like kind of like eventually you get there, but like when he's feeding him that chunk of cookie and sticking it into his whiskery, weird, wet mouth, like ant mouth. I'm like, oh my God, what is that?
Never have I wanted a pet ant more
than at that moment.
Okay.
So I don't like ants in general, but this is, he's like cute and, it worked for me as a kid. It was like, I got over kind of my own creep factor because Auntie had personality, and yes, the whole feeding into the whiskery mouth and that type of thing. There's people who don't like horses.
Juicy. Yeah. Juices flowing, or whatever Gus says in that movie.
Gross. Yeah. Gus. He
was the creep who was trying to date Swell in Don't.
Oh yeah, okay.
Juices flowing.
Gotcha.
Stop it. We don't repeat it anymore.
So Auntie made you sad because we get a real like Lassie moment here, especially when get out of here. I don't even want you anymore.
And he was trying to like force him to go.
Right, because the ant has the brain of a fucking ant. The ant's pretty emotional for an insect that is known for its droniness. Right. That's what an ant's all about. But that's okay. It's cute. He or she is cute. Do we know? It's a boy. Doesn't matter. They.
I wouldn't know how to tell.
They're cute. They sacrifice themselves for the benefit of the kids.
Right.
Again, great question. Where is this random scorpion walking in from?
Right. I think that's something they need to look in if there's scorpions in their garden. Well, we also learned that their grass hasn't been cut in quite a lot of long.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a problem that
your
grass is
backyard's beginning to look a little like the Amazon, Selinsky. I love Big Russ Thompson.
I think we should talk. Yeah, he's a great character.
Do you know him, the performer, the guy who plays him?
Okay. He looks familiar. Is he on? No, tell me.
Well, his name is Matt Frewer. He was originally Max Headroom. Do you know Max Headroom? You would know him if you saw him.
Okay.
He's the sort of computery 3D figure. He's like a blonde guy, square head, who was very popular in the 1980s. Actually had his own television show. Carolyn, does this ring a bell for you? Max Headroom? All right. I'll show you a picture. This guy, he was on like Pepsi commercials, I think.
I've never seen who this is.
The only thing I know him from is Back to the Future.
This character, Max Headroom.
Yes.
Right, because this is the same... they use this technology in Back to the Future 2 for like Ronald Reagan at the Cafe 80s or whatever. I'm not going to get too deep into it. Anyway, that's the same guy. And also he plays the voice of Panic, I think, from Pain and Panic in the animated movie Hercules. He's one of those voices.
Oh, okay. That I know.
But he's been around and he's a funny guy and he's funny in this movie, I think. He's very funny.
But also the actor who played Wayne Zelinsky,
Rick Moranis,
he like kind of stopped acting or something like this.
Yeah, he kind of retires
after this movie because he was done with Hollywood.
Well, he'd already
wanted to raise his kids, I think.
Okay.
He'd already done Ghostbusters. He'd been in the Little Shop of Horrors.
Never seen it, but I hear good things. Yeah, Ghostbusters. He was in the Mackenzie Brothers, who are like a Canadian, hey, take off, hoser, like that kind of thing. He did that. He was part of SCTV, which was the Canadian version of Saturday Night Live, basically. Like sort of a comedy legend.
Okay.
He does the sequel to this movie, but I don't think he does the third one. Maybe he does. I can't remember. But yeah, he kind of retires to raise his kids, and he wasn't really into fame or anything like that. But he's well known, and he did plenty in the 80s to float a life, I guess. So
create enough money.
I think he ended up doing some parody albums, like he wrote parody songs and produced them or something. I'm not sure, but he's around.
That's interesting. And are any of the I don't remember seeing any of the other. Well, you mentioned Senior Russ, but none of the other actors kind of made it out into anything else, I feel. Or I at least not that.
Yeah, I didn't really look anybody up, but Jared Rushton, Ronnie, he was somebody. He was a child actor, right? But he's kind of the only one. So the guy who plays Nick in this movie, he does come back for the sequel. And he's a teenager. Yeah. But Big Russ and Amy are gone, and Ronnie too. Yeah,
because that whole in the sequel, I think it's only about the Zelinsky family. I don't think that the Thompsons are involved,
right?
Because it's their kid. I guess they have another kid.
That's right, Adam. Right? They have Adam. Boy, that works on multiple levels.
And he gets blown up.
Adam, it's like the Atom, and then Adam, the first man. They make the first man. Science and. I don't know. I'm looking up Marcia Strassman because I feel like, maybe Marcia Strassman, who plays Mom Zelinsky. Oh, she's dead. Oh no! Oh shit! Died in 2014. Oh man! All right, this is why we don't do this. She was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And you thought your parents were weird? Interesting. That's a 90s movie. Huh. Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. Another Stakeout. Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. That was the theme park ride. Power Play. Patty Duke Show. Iron. Oh, she was on MASH. Okay. She was literally shooting MASH. Welcome Back, Kotter. She is the wife to Mr. Kotter on Welcome Back, Kotter. That's where I know her from. Okay. We got there. Okay.
I also don't know that show.
Well, that's where John Travolta comes from.
Oh.
A young baby John Travolta. Okay. He plays Vinnie Barbarino.
Interesting.
I
want to tell you about what Welcome Back, Kotter is about.
Please tell us.
No, this is not the time. I'm gonna say no. We get guys.
All right. Where do you want to go? You're the host.
I think, I think I've covered most of my bases. Do y'all think we have, any areas to talk about that I may have missed?
No, I
talked about the technology. We talked about the two families. We did a fit check.
Yeah.
I do want to call out the, some differences, in the times. The fact that they had clothes hanging out in the backyard.
Yeah. Right. Hanging up laundry.
This is like maybe pre the dryer.
Not everybody had a dryer.
Not everybody had a dryer.
That's true.
I thought that was interesting. We have the phone with the windy cord that tangles you up. So this was pre-wireless technology.
Yes. Everybody had a phone like that.
Yeah.
Kids out there.
And technically, if everything on you shrunk, these kids would have had cell phones and their parents would have been able to text them.
Exactly.
I don't know. How does the signal work? Wow. Okay.
I mean, if we follow their logic, because everything shrunk along with them.
That's what I'm saying.
We can just call them to come pick us up.
Right.
Hey, they just walk out here.
We're down here.
I love that. We do have, Big Russ Thompson is struggling with the smoking issue.
Right.
So we're still seeing active smoking.
Right. But more being hidden.
But we already know that, yes, exactly, that this is now starting to creep into the culture. We know that in real life, families were having this conversation and kids were concerned about their dad's health and, dad's smoking again. Like the boys, they've been through this before, right? This has clearly been on the table for the family of we need you to stop smoking. Right. This is also like peak DARE and all of that, say no to drugs, Nancy Reagan shit. So that the kids are just as invested in dad being safe because they've been terrified by this is going to kill you, which, all the science points to, yes, this will kill you. So that makes sense. So that's pretty new.
Yeah.
That probably came up in the 80s, I'm imagining, because again, people were still smoking inside up until early 2000s.
If we watched when we did Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead,
right?
Wasn't there one character that was just smoking everywhere in the house, outside
Yes,
the house?
Swell was smoking the whole time at the office, of course. I mean, like workplace smoking. You love to see that. But I think maybe the smoking has been starting to be compartmentalized by like early 90s. Right. I think you can't smoke at the movies anymore. I'll look this up when these things happen. You can't smoke at the supermarkets. It starts to just get closed taboo, down, you know, taboo, exactly, right. Yeah. But here the taboo is starting, but we're not going to lean on you too hard. Like now I feel like you might be attacked if you smoke. But
in the house? Yeah, probably.
Which is anywhere, just smoking in general.
Well, I feel like, I don't know if I agree with that, because I feel like with the onset of vapes and all of those technologies, people are not smoking any less. They're just smoking different.
They're getting their nicotine in a different, right. They're getting the pouches.
Right. And then there's the stuff,
gum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, the nicotine intake technology has developed.
Right. Stinks
massively.
Less. Right. I mean, they solved the smell problem. I mean, that's the whole thing.
But not really the health problems, I suppose.
Right. Still an addiction.
Right. And then finally, this whole French class joke.
Oh my God.
I can literally track my life from when I didn't understand it to when I actually understood it the same way Nick got it at the end of the movie. Because early days, I was like, French class? What's that about?
Right, yeah.
And then even in the end, when he's like, I get it, French class. I never got it. And then there was a distinct period in my life where now I get it.
Oh, I do get it.
I
do get it. That's a great point, because I'm thinking back to, I would have been 8 years old when this movie came out. I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
I had no idea. And I was reading the book. I was reading the novelization. I wonder if they talk about it in there, if they explain it in the book that this is a kissing joke. I wonder.
But he was also so cool when he said it. He's like, where'd you learn how to do that? And Russ was so cool with it.
Russ was pretty cool. Russ is clearly the coolest. Like, if you're going to pick somebody to be, be big. Well, he's not Big Russ. He's Little Russ.
But I think he has
he's got some swag.
I feel like Big Russ in his youth was quite a charming man.
Sure.
Who just kind of gotten bogged down with, you know, the day-to-day shit of life and marriage and kids. But I think there's some charm. There was some charm to him at some point.
What is Mom's name? What is Mom Thompson's name? And just because she's great, and that's the only reason I want to bring it up, is she is a hip lady. Mae Thompson. Okay. Christine Sutherland. Now I know her from somewhere. She's got to be.
She also has a very familiar face.
Indeed. Okay, she is known for this and The Perfect Wedding. She's on Buffy. Oh, she's Buffy's mom. Oh, of course, she's Joyce. Oh, of course.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Unbelievable. She's
also another gem of the 90s.
Yes, a complicated one in which you have to be like, well, get through season 1. And then by like halfway through season 2, Spike is awesome, but he's also a bad guy. But when he comes back in season 4, things totally change. It's like it's way too complicated. There's a lot of heavy lifting with getting people into Buffy.
Well, also Buffy, and then there was the spin-off show Angel.
Yeah. Not a fan.
I was in love with that man.
So you were Team Angel?
I was Team Angel.
Unbelievable.
David, whatever his name.
Moranis.
Moranis.
Stressing the bore part of it.
No,
oh my God.
He was perfect in every way.
Look, okay.
Look.
Let me ask. True Blood, are you Team Bill?
Thumbs down on all of it.
You know, I never really got into it. I never watched True Blood.
Sucks. Because it's vampires.
Is that the one with Suki?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that show was really annoying.
It was super annoying.
Oh my God, I fucking love it.
I think I watched it too late. Like, I just tried to watch it last year.
Oh, yeah. At the time, it was very hot. I feel like
at the time, it would have been a really good show.
And then it just devolved to just them being in bed together.
Yeah.
The whole time. Cut to Skarsgård in his tracksuit, which is actually, I'm Team Skarsgård, right? What was his name?
Totally blanking, but yes, Team Skarsgård. I'm blanking on vampire name though.
Right. Anyway, Team him. But that show is boo.
Yeah, I never got into True Blood, I must say, so I can't comment. But with the whole team,
Spike and Angel,
but also more recently the New Moon shit, the one with
Edward and
Jacob. Might have to be that's a tough one because I feel like I like the look of the Jacob, but I like the person. So that was always a tough one. But I hated that whole
Sounds like it.
I hated that whole book and movie series. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's ridiculous.
It's terrible.
What other teams do I have to choose from?
Where do you stand in the Potterverse? Who do you ship? Because I was, of course, pro Harry, Hermione. They should have been together. Hermione going with Ron is the biggest mistake that woman ever made in her life.
Interesting.
I guarantee it.
Interesting.
But also, I like Harry and Luna. I'm pro Luna too.
I was pro Harry and Luna.
Okay.
I feel like he should have been with her.
She was weird enough to
and she had been through enough issues. And I feel like I need to read the books again because the movies don't do Ginny justice in a way. I
don't think she was really that I don't think she was developed enough.
Right.
In either the books or the movie.
I think Ginny should have ended up with Neville. And Harry with Luna.
Here's the thing. All of these people got married young. All these characters, once they have those fucking kids, they're all high school sweethearts. Gross. Yeah. They're like middle school sweethearts. So therefore, bleh.
They're like boarding schools.
Especially when you have, guys, I'm so glad we're talking about this. You have access flu system.
Yes.
You can apparate. You've got port keys. You can go anywhere in the world and meet some sexy fucking Romanian witcher wizard.
That's so true.
To fall in love with, but they're just dating people from homeroom.
You know what? This really, I feel
they're all going to get divorces is what I'm saying.
Podcast, because I can talk about this shit.
A podcast, if you will.
Yes.
Right.
I'm just saying that they're all gonna get divorced, and then it's
agreed.
And the fact that
they start dating each other. Ooh, then it gets spicy. Then we get a new series of 7 books. 7 very horny, magical books.
Oh my God. Okay, guys, I'm gonna cut this short.
All right.
Okay.
Let's stay on track.
I think we are good with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Let's do the business of do we keep this one or we don't? Justin, you can start.
Of course. It's a solid yes for me. Yes. No reservations whatsoever.
Carolyn.
It's a solid yes.
Yes, absolutely. And it's 100% solid yes from me. I'm pretty sure I can go back and watch it again tonight.
Yeah.
And it was so funny too. Like the quips,
it's funny.
It's hilarious.
It holds up.
Awesome.
Comedy doesn't hold up very well.
No, it doesn't.
Love it when it does.
And it does. Artifacts. I mean, I feel like there's a lot. You know what, guys? I just want to do one callback to one invention that we didn't talk about, which was the robot. No, the remote
the lawnmower.
Lawnmower.
Oh yeah,
great invention.
Every kid loves that. It's just like, of course. I would mow the lawn every day.
Every day. If I had a lawn to mow and if I had that lawnmower, it would never be a problem.
Oh, this reminds me. We should talk briefly. I'm sorry to bring it up, but we should talk about the music real quick.
Oh, yes.
Because this movie has peak Mad Scientist music in it, which is the theme. So I had to look this up because I knew, I'm like, what is this? Right. Because this movie was scored by James Horner, who famously did a bunch of other movies. You can look them up, but that musical cue, that they got sued for using it, and it's what I'm describing is like an assembly line theme. You know what I'm talking about? And so this was used in 40 or 50 Looney Tunes or something like that.
It almost reminds me of Dexter's Laboratory.
Sure. Same. It's probably taken. Right. So this is a song from 1937 called Powerhouse.
Okay.
That has 2 distinct themes. So there's Powerhouse A and Powerhouse B, and it's like a big band type of recording. And you would recognize Powerhouse A too, because it's also used in lots of Looney Tunes. Right. Powerhouse B though is the one that's the assembly line theme. So that's quoted throughout, and it's just like, it goes hand in hand with people fucking zapping together wires and shit like that. Right. And I love it so much. Anyway, check out Powerhouse or don't.
We should, thank you for the music input.
Yeah, you got
we should always do that.
Always.
When it's, I like it. I like it when it's important.
Okay. We did see a second music note. Sorry. Amy dancing with the mop to some super 80s power pop. This is a time of Madonna, Paula Abdul. So you've got your metalhead Kenny and his Guns and All of Their Roses, but also you've got pop radio. You've got Cyndi Lauper and whatever's hot in 88 at that time. Carolyn, what's hot in 88 music wise? What's in your Discman, your tape deck, your Walkman?
I don't know, probably Paula Abdul or like Madonna or something. Does that sound right?
Madonna, yeah.
So that kind of thing.
Okay, Artifact.
Okay. I mean, I'm really tempted to. There's so many, right?
Right.
Tempted to take the laser. I'm tempted to take. I would like to take, because I'm real curious about it, Ronnie's cutoff jacket with the Black Panther on the back.
Okay.
Which I think it's probably referencing like a Vietnam patch or something like that. Could be wrong, but I'm going to take that.
Okay.
It's sticking out to me.
Carolyn?
I'm going to take the shrinking machine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, we've got to.
One of us has to take it.
Very iconic looking bit of movie invention, I think.
Right.
In the same way the DeLorean or the...
the same vibes as the DeLorean, for sure.
Right, right. Lots of homemade, we took this phone apart and built this thing out of it.
And I think I will take the remote control lawnmower.
Yes, that's a great...
Because who doesn't need one of those in life?
Right. Now, if you could remote control the laundry to do itself, right?
Oh my God, if only.
I mean, all you
mad scientists out there.
Exactly.
You're out my
Honey, I shrunk your laundry duties. Yeah.
Oh my God. Some way that it'll go from dirty to clean, folded in your closet with zero effort.
I want anti-slop fabric.
Because really part of the laundry flow issue is getting it back into its place, clean and folded.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, the biggest bottleneck for me, it's the ironing. Why am I still ironing clothes? We have put human beings on the face of the moon. Why am I plugging in a piece of hot metal?
I agree.
To smooth my clothing.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you look at filmmaking, you guys have the technology to create these amazing fucking computer generated and all this crazy technology. Take 10% of that and put it into laundry. I think we would all live in a better world.
I agree. Here.
Right.
With that, Justin, I think it's your turn next for the next movie.
I'm pretty excited.
Are you?
Yeah.
You're always up to something with these.
I'm a little crafty. Well, I'll tell you, Shrishma, you've actually inspired me to break the rules a little bit. Because next week's homework or next episode's homework, I gotta stop saying next week. What a promise that is. Because it never shows up. I mean, as soon as I say next week, we'll see you there. We're not going to be there. That's the human condition these days.
We try. We
That's
do
an
our
adult
best.
post-COVID.
Right.
I blame COVID, right?
Yes, sure.
So here's what we're going to do. It's the 90s, right?
It is the 90s.
I'd like to take you to 1993. And I would like to have you watch an episode.
Episode.
Of 1993's Sequest DSV. It's called Photon Bullet. I will send you all the link to it. But those of you at home who want to get caught up, have you heard of Sequest?
I have not. Okay.
Listen,
no.
I was going to give you the option of do we watch this episode or do we watch the pilot so you get the full layout? Okay. The pilot you'll have access to if you're so compelled you want to check it out. Okay. Please do. But the short version is this is Star Trek Next Generation, but it's in a submarine. So it's in the future, people living together, new adventure every week. The key figure we're going to be talking about is Lucas, who was he's the best of us.
Okay.
By us, I'm talking about young white men of the early 1990s. He's the guy where it's I want to be like that guy. Okay. So we're going to watch that. Photon Bullet is the episode. It's a ludicrous show. I mean, again, we do the pilot, but it's kind of boring. All of it's kind of boring.
Is it made by the same guys who made Star Trek?
I don't know if there's crossover there. The biggest selling point was it was executive produced by Mr. Steven Spielberg at the height of his powers.
We're going to say that's the best selling point because Roy Scheider
starring Roy Scheider, who is Brody from Jaws, and you'll recognize him.
Okay.
And then filled up with a cast of young hotties in submarine jumpsuits. I mean,
can't go wrong.
I was there every week. Oh my God, there's another show we have to watch. Okay, now we'll start here though. Photon Bullet, Sequest DSV. We'll see you next time. And until that time, Shrishma, great job hosting the program. Hey, we made it. Yeah.
Guys. Hey. Great movie. So
wait, I'm sorry. What is the name of the episode?
It's called Photon Bullet.
Okay, and this is...
I would give you the episode number, but there's a weird, like, the pilot is like episode 0, and then there's...
That it goes.
It gets confused.
Okay.
But yeah, great job, everybody. And yeah, until next time, please never forget that this has been Old Movie Time Machine. Whoops. All 90s most of the time.
But not also always movies.
But also not always movies, and also not always the 90s.
Right.
All right.
Because we do what we want to do.
We're going to do what we want to do. Because we want to do it. That's how this show works. Oh, go buy a t-shirt, by the way. We've got a TeePublic store. Also, follow us on the grams. We're at Time Machine Podcasts. And also send us emails if you're a grandparent and you still like to email things.
Right.
Partyline@oldmovietimemachine.com. Otherwise, there's Facebook. We're on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, all the places. Right. We're there. You can find us there. Subscribe us, give us 5 stars. 5 stars only, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please and thank you. And never forget that this
has been... Hey, Kyle.
Oh, yeah. And shout out to Kyle. Kyle checks in with us, and he's still enjoying what we're doing. So as long as our fan is happy, that's what matters. You know, start with that core base of people.
Hey, wasn't that our fan?
Anyway, this has been Old Movie Time Machine. Oops. All 90s, most of the time, some of the time. Some of the time.
Some of the time.
Some of the time. All right. Bye.
Bye.